Yeah, living out your faith at work is probably a little bit less of like a tips and tricks model, but instead just recognizing how the kingdom of God can infuse itself into all that you're taking part in. So it's a little bit less of like a bolt-on that happens, but more of a complete infusion. And so when you're living out your faith at work, you're probably kind of thinking through what do God's norms direct me to believe about insert the blank, like this situation, and trying to use that as a way to bring forth the kingdom into that situation. So I guess it's probably, or it is to me, a little bit more of a mindset change that happens, and it's just a way of viewing work that is just a little bit different than maybe how other folks think of it, and it's probably more of a way of just seeing the world that is different. The most important leadership lesson that I've learned in this particular season, at least, is control. So Luther says there's 4 idols of the human heart: power, control, comfort, and approval. And I think at work, if you're in any sort of position of leadership, possibly control is one of the idols of your heart. And so as our organization has transitioned over the years, I've had to release more and more things. And so learning to give up control has been something that I do think God is nudging me towards figuring out and releasing. And I would say that overall, that applies, of course, to all of my life, but at work especially, being able to release control, allow other people to do their job well, and just kind of letting that work unfold in a way that is amazing, but doesn't actually have to have me in on it. I had a pretty profound experience happen back in 2001. I was working at a company, and we were pregnant with our first child. As it happens, my wife woke me up one morning and said, "Hey, it's time for the baby to come." And so we get in the car and we back down the driveway, and we're driving into downtown Atlanta, and on the radio is this idea or this event where a plane has hit the World Trade Center. And so we're going into downtown Atlanta as they're evacuating downtown Atlanta, and we're hearing this terrorist attack. And we walk into the hospital, and above the receptionist, the TV's playing, and the first tower falls. And so we go back into the delivery room, and at 4:30 that afternoon, our first son is born. And 2 days later, I lose my job. And so we had this kind of crazy set of circumstances where there's this national turmoil, and then we have all of the sort of complexities, the joy and the sleepless nights of the baby, and then I lost my job. And so through that experience, there was quite a bit of professional failure in that I didn't have a job. And basically what I learned was God had been shifting me in a different direction for a year, and I just wasn't listening. And I learned that sometimes God can kind of gently push us in a particular way, and sometimes He can just use all of His force and weight to get you to move. And so what I've learned from failure is to listen to God a little bit earlier, so that the small nudge occurs and not the big push.